really delighted to see you all here and very delighted to welcome this wonderful panel to our writers' room. So these guys are all writer-actors, these three, and then Rachel is an actor, director, now writer. So Jackie Van Beek here is a...
Hello.
Works in theatre and film. Has made an incredible number of short films in the last sort of 5 or 6 years, which have done really well. Go the Dogs went to Berlin, and Safe Hands won Best Independent Short Film at the Film Awards here. She had another one, the Shoe one.
There was a shoe one, yep.
The Shoe one that went to
London.
to London. So, and yeah, we're just so glad to have Jackie here. She's also written a feature film script that won Best Unproduced Screenplay at the Swans Awards last year, so welcome Jackie. Sophie is also an actor-writer who has worked in the theatre and on screen as an actor a lot, and had her debut feature as a writer, Fantail, in the festival last year. Then went to Rotterdam and got picked up pretty quickly by a sales agent, and she also was the lead in it, and it was a really staggeringly good performance. So glad to have you here as well. Tom Sainsbury, who is known for his dysfunctional characters, has written a lot of plays, is pretty prolific, and has won the Playmarket Young Playwright of the Year award 4 times, and also co-wrote Super City with Madeline Sami, and is writing for the screen, and we're so glad that he is. So welcome, Tom.
Thank you.
And finally, Rachel House is going to be leading the discussion for us this evening. Thank you for coming along to play that role, Rachel. Rachel is an actor. You will have seen her in some pretty iconic New Zealand films, including Whale Rider, Boy, and playing a lead role in White Lies last year. And she's also directed theatre, including Shakespeare in Te Reo, which went to the Globe in London and won a lot of awards here. And she's now writing for the screen as well. So delighted to have you all here, and I'll hand over to Rachel.
Good everybody. It's quite hard to see your faces, but that's okay. You're all gorgeous, I'm sure. I'm just going to get straight into it and throw you the first question, Soph. Just because Fantail was just, it was quite recent, and it's certainly still in my head. How did it originate? And could you tell us a bit about your process of adaptation?
Certainly. So Fantail started as a monologue that I wrote in my 3rd year at drama school. We all had to do like a solo piece in our 3rd year. And so it was just a 10-minute piece about this character, Tanya. I played all the characters, and it was sort of started at where the film ends. So it was a confession, basically, to a security camera. And when I did it at drama school, a lot of industry folk and my teachers said, that this is a bigger story, and it should be a long form something. And so it was always in my mind for it to be a play. And so after drama school, I kind of bashed out a first draft of a play. It was all the same characters as the film, the same world, same ending. And I did a few public readings of that, with some of the cast from the film were in that. And then the best thing that happened to me was I applied for some funding to develop that script, the play, and I got rejected. I cried a little bit. And I'm really grateful for that, because I would never have considered it being a film otherwise. So around the same time, the New Zealand Film Commission's Escalator initiative was happening, and together with Curtis Val, who was the director of Fantail, and my husband, we thought that Fantail would be an amazing low-budget feature because it's all contained in one place and is sort of a handful of characters. And so we applied for Escalator, and you had to have 3 ideas, and Fantail was one of them. We had to do a 1-pager of that. And I'd never written a treatment or anything for screen before, so I just kind of took my original drama school monologue and edited it down and put it in like 8-point font so it fit on a page. And it was just first person prose really, and I sent that off, and luckily we got selected for the final 12 of that. And after that I was given 3 months to deliver a script, so it took me 3 months to adapt the play into a screenplay, and I think I wrote a draft a month over that time. And so I was teaching myself how to write a screenplay, and I read a bunch of story structure books and so many screenplays and watched a bunch of movies, and I actually discovered script to screen and started coming to this. And I guess I learned that I think a screenplay is like way more defined than a play. Theatre, the form of theatre is always changing, and people kind of celebrate that, and it's cool to be innovative in theatre, but with film, I think everyone who has a relationship with film, they kind of know the structure, whether they know that they know it or not, they kind of know how it goes. And so that was a big thing. And the first thing I changed when I was adapting it was kind of discovering my story in pictures rather than words, I think. You can't, and I sort of discovered early on that you can't just copy and paste from this medium into this medium. Like, you can't just film a play because, really you should just save your time and money and just do the play, if you're going to do that. So...
What were some of the biggest changes that you experienced in terms of the different forms of mediums in terms of writing?
With the visual side of things, I was quite rigorous with cutting any scenes that didn't have my lead protagonist in it. I got rid of those. I trimmed all the scenes, and I guess in theatre, that's my background, and is all about backgrounds. But in theatre, film, the story is all in a wide shot, and I guess, and you can't really tell the audience where to look. The audience is kind of going, oh, they're speaking, so I'll look at them. But I think in film you can really go, oh, have a look at this, and you can use imagery as exposition. You can't do that as much in theatre, I think. You can use a close-up and look at what somebody's thinking. And even in the most intimate theatre experience, I don't think you can do that.
Yeah.
And then I opened up the world of the play. The play was all set in the petrol station as well. And so I gave myself permission to go outside the petrol station. I think in theatre, you can talk about stuff that happens off stage, you can get away with that. In Chekhov, they're oh, and then this duel happened, and this fire, and they cut down the cherry trees, and in theatre, it's oh yeah, we understand, you can't have a fire on the stage. But in theatre, it's in film, you can't get away with that. You were cheating your audience if you're not going to show the fire. Just go and show the fire. Yeah. And so I took my character, and in the play, she talked about going to Papamoa to get her brother back, and in the film, we just went there. Yeah. I think the biggest change from the play to the screenplay was there was this monologue, the original monologue, in the theatre script and in the monologue. I used that, I sort of peppered that through the screenplay, and I kind of threaded things together, and it was the character Tanya talking to a security camera, and it was quite poetic, and it was quite jarring because she was looking straight at the audience, and I mean, yeah, people wanted it to go, and we held on to it. Should have listened. It was in the final shooting script, and then we shot it, and then we did a pickup because it wasn't working. And yeah, I mean, obviously they do it in House of Cards, and it's amazing. That is the contemporary Macbeth. But yeah, one day, I think it was 3 days before we picture locked, and me and Curtis and our editor Richard Shaw were actually no, I lied. The film commission was guys, try it without try one up the monologue. And we were like, no, that's not right. And then we tried it, and it was right. We took it all out, and we were like, let's just watch it without it. And it really worked, and I'm so glad we did that. It was the kind of the scaffolding of the film, and I'd been hanging on to it, and I couldn't let it go. And then when I did, it was like took the scaffolding away, and it was better for it. Yeah.
And what did you miss about? You talked about the rehearsal process in theatre, and how that's quite a collaborative process. And you said the other day you quite missed that. Is that fair? Is that true?
I think so. Well, Fantail was different because we were all from theatre backgrounds, and so we had 20 days to shoot, and we were like, we will cheat this by doing full-on rehearsals, because that's going to be free, because everyone was so lovely and giving their time. And so we kind of rehearsed it like a play, but usually in screen, you might get like a day or 2 days with the director to kind of talk about some things. And with like television especially, it's like you do an audition, you nail the audition, and you have to do a carbon copy of what you did in the audition on set, and there's no room for growing that character, and just do it exactly like that. Yeah, I think, I think there's room for rehearsals, for sure, on screen.
Do you feel that way, Jackie? Do you miss that process when you write for film or when you direct film, the lovely rehearsal?
Yeah, because I've only made short films so far, but certainly I'm working up to a feature, and I definitely want to allocate rehearsal time, because that's what I'm used to in theatre. You can sort it out with the actors. I come from a devising background, and so I'm used to like making the work with the actors, but now I'm more a writer, director, and sometimes actor. But so rehearsal process just seems so natural to me, and like Sophie says, it's so cheap before you get the cameras in there and the whole crew. Yeah.
What have you found in terms of the transition from theatre to film? What have you found to be, I don't know, anything compromising in particular other than the rehearsal process as well?
Well, look, Sophie covered it really well. But when I first kind of tried to transition from writing theatre scripts to film scripts, I found it incredibly difficult. All my film scripts were dialogue. All the exposition came through dialogue. All of the metaphors were in dialogue, and I'd write scenes, and I'd just kind of throw in a couple of action lines to try and make it cinematic, but they were as kind of poor as she stood up, and then there'd be heaps more dialogue, like some great repartee, incredible repartee, and then he passes her the cheese, and then I'm like, oh god, fade out. It's terrible. I found it so hard, and it was a strange kind of because the first thing I tried to do in my screenwriting career was adapt a play which was called The Swimming Lessons, and a few people after they saw the season, it was something that I wrote and acted in but didn't direct, a few people said, oh, that would make a great film. It'd be kind of surreal, it'd be weird. And so I actually applied for Cinemart, which is a kind of big feature film market, and that goes alongside the Rotterdam Film Festival, and kind of lo and behold it got in, because I wrote a 10-page treatment, and it got in, and I was over there, and I had 4 days of back-to-back 8 hours a day, like back-to-back meetings with incredible distributors and sales agents and co-producers, and they were all so excited, and I was great at talking about my story and from a theatre background, and they all wanted to see a script, and I was like, okay, I'll email you one, and then I came back to New Zealand, and I tried to write a film script. I couldn't do it, so that was the beginning of my becoming kind of determined to learn how to write for screen rather than for theatre. So it was a big hard journey, actually.
Yeah. Tom, you've written 1 billion plays, and
100,000.
Sorry, only 100,000. And I mean, and then you went to television.
Mm-hmm.
What, you must have been quite shocked. Were you shocked?
I remember on the first day of filming Super City 1, Taika Waititi was directing it, and he got the sides for the day, and he went through it with a pen. He said so many fucking words about my script that I'd written. And it's true, like I would just, like to begin with, I would just have scenes that just went on and on and on about talking. Of course it just doesn't translate. Also, another thing is like, doing theatre, kind of like the writer is king, I guess, and I'd go to these workshops and everyone would be so respectful about my words. And then you go into theatre or screen and no one gives a shit. And I just like, they just tear you down. And I feel it's a good thing to go back to theatre, to take it. I think I was a bit more precious about my writing before that, before doing television. But now it kind of knocks the ego out of you, and that you actually are servicing the work rather than your own ego.
Yeah, you talked about the feedback. You said you learned a lot from the feedback you had to deal with because it was so ruthless.
So ruthless and to the point, which is great, a great way to actually, if you can learn to handle that, that's great. And it would just be coming from everyone, like the director, from Madeline, from the producer, and from the TV networks as well. So you're just getting all these emails and you're like, I can't do all that now. But it's due tomorrow at 9 a.m. Yes.
Do you all feel that way? That in theatre you are kings and queens and in film you're not?
Well, that's why I'm a writer-director.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
I think generally, like, you can name so many playwrights, but who are some screenwriters? Like, there aren't that many that you can...
That's true.
Unless they are playwrights, screenwriters.
Well, I think in New Zealand, auteurs are very common, aren't they? They're very popular because, I mean, personally, I do find it strange. Like, if you write something and then you hand it over. I've always been a writer-actor and got someone else to direct, but I'm still a part of it.
Yeah.
A little bit of control, especially in theatre, because you can do whatever you want after the lights go on. And then as a writer-director, I don't know, yeah, it's just a different thing, isn't it? Like, I admire and respect people that write something and then just take a deep breath and hand it over and hope for the best.
I just can't see how that can work though.
I don't know, I'd be so scared. I need to have some control.
I've done it a couple of times and then sat in the audience going, oh my god. I wish I'd been involved in the rehearsal.
Do you all feel more restricted by the medium of film and television?
Oh no.
Good.
Oh, great.
Talk about that.
Something positive. When I made my first short film, that happened quite by accident because I was actually running a clown workshop up in Alice Springs on a town camp, and so I was doing a theatre workshop. I just found these two boys, these Indigenous boys who were just such a great two-hander, incredible, and I thought I've got to do something more with them. And I thought, well, the only thing I can kind of do, because they only had kind of 30-second attention spans, I can't do a show with them. I have to do a film, and so I kind of fell into directing like that. But and having a theatre background, this is slightly off topic, having a theatre background was so useful in terms of when I went up onto the town camp. All kind of, I had a few crew and some equipment I didn't know anything about, but I knew how to build a story. I knew actors. I knew how to direct actors. I knew what was needed to construct the story. And it was just I was doing it through a different medium. But I soon discovered that in film, you have so much kind of freedom in terms of just like the basic things. This is obvious, but you can jump time, you can jump location in a split second, and
You can do that in theatre.
well, you can. You can. But film is so kind of literal, and so as soon as you see an image in that first split second, you're in that world. There's no setting up with the lights. There's no white cyc at the back projecting stuff. It's just so kind of literal that you're immediately transported, which I find extremely exciting
And liberating.
and liberating.
Yeah.
But I guess it's also like, I guess both mediums, what you're saying is that you basically did this yourself, and so you kind of created what you wanted. But I guess it's a bit different if you're working for the big machine. That is
Just
STP.
as a writer. Or a Tip Top Factory. What are you talking about?
I don't know. I don't even know. I'm high.
You've had a pineapple juice.
Have another pineapple juice.
Have for all of you guys, has one fed into the other?
Absolutely.
Yes.
How? Tell us a lovely story.
I think think it's both long form storytelling. You know, all the things that I learned from theatre in terms of a character. I mean, maybe it's a lot from acting as well. It's like as an actor, you are always trying to create a memorable character. You're always getting inside that character. You're working out what they want, their attitudes, their relationships, and all of that is like kind of exactly the same for my screenwriting process, I guess.
I also think that I just learned so much writing theatre and writing so much of it that when I came to working on the screen, I'd already learned these lessons, and that if I hadn't have had that experience, I'd be making so many stupid mistakes, so many more public mistakes. Like some of my first plays were the worst things in the world, and I learnt the horrible mistakes before I kind of got into screenwriting.
How long does it take you to write a play? Do you seem to write a play every week, almost?
Well, no, a day.
Right.
No, it varies. Well, I mean, when does one begin? Like, ideas percolating can suddenly, I don't know.
And did writing television make you work in a more detailed way in your theatre writing?
Yes, and it was, I think I just learned some basic things in writing for screen that I hadn't even thought about for theatre, but it's just about like refining your story down to that one sentence or that one concept was so important, and it's so apparent in television. You can't kind of be blurred with what you're doing. Do you guys agree?
Yeah, theatre you can get away with a bit more kind of abstract and fact.
Yeah.
Well, pretend that you're clever and the audience just don't understand.
Yeah.
Whereas film it's harder because it's so literal.
And theatre's so immediate as well. Like you get the audience's feedback straight away. If it's a comedy, you know if you're funny that night.
Yeah.
And if it's a drama, then you can feel the silence in the audience. You can feel people stop breathing. I miss that with film. Like there's scenes in Fantail where Jared was just too funny, and we stopped seeing him being funny. And there's like a bit that every audience has laughed over, an important line. And I'm like, why didn't we figure that out? And in theatre, you just wait a couple of beats and you're away.
You said something interesting about thinking that the audience are less forgiving of a bad film than they are of
No, I reckon the opposite.
Would you like to wrap on that a bit, please, Tom?
I think that everyone has got a favourite film, and so they know film works, but I feel like people can go to one bad play and they're like, nah, I'm not going to see any more plays for 10 years.
Well, the problem is, you know,
That's true.
and I have a, you know, and I'm making a show at a theatre show at the moment. But I think when I've talked to, especially like young people, when I survey young people, they're scared of going to theatre. 38, hang on a minute. They're scared of going to theatre because they feel like they have a direct relationship with the people on stage, and they know that they can't walk out without maybe someone noticing who they are and talking about them down at the bar. Whereas in film, you can just slip out if you don't like it. I know a lot of people have said to me that that's what they're scared of. I did a season of a show called My Brother and I Are Porn Stars in the Edinburgh Fringe a number of years ago. And in Edinburgh, people just come in for 5 minutes, they buy a ticket, but they might stay 5 minutes, 7 minutes, 20 minutes, 25 minutes, just walk out. So I got so used to people walking in and out, in and out, in and out. A lot of them were scouting for shows and things, but a lot of people just had booked 3 8:30 shows and thought they'd go to 20 minutes of each. And but you got so used to it. I found it so refreshing, and so I always think, come to my theatre show. If I bore you, or if you've got another show to see, please leave. And I always think it'd be great if, like, especially the young people, if they felt like they could leave a theatre show, like they could leave a film, they wouldn't be so scared of being trapped. Anyway, that's
That is interesting.
I programmed the basement theatre downstairs, and I just found out we have 80% of our audiences are first-time ticket buyers. So there's something about theatre that's like novel in the experience, and even if the show is really shitty, then you still have that in-the-moment thing. I don't know.
yeah.
Why is theatre considered the poor cousin then? Because it seems to be.
I think it's because there's less of a vetting process to get a play up, and that someone can put up a pretty shitty play and they can kind of advertise, and you're like, the poster's great. The films, you're like, well, they've gone through such a process to get to the screen that there must be some level of goodness.
Or some level of money involved.
Yeah.
Whereas theatre, you can virtually put on a show at the basement for no money. Like
That's,
none.
I mean, I find that exciting. I particularly love going to the basement. In terms of I go to a show,
Me too.
and God knows what it's going to be like. And I love that. It's like some of them were saying, I did these myself. It's so bad.
Totally.
I love it.
There's something when it's when
It's
she's
a
good.
risk every
It's
time
a
you go.
risk. But like you say with, sorry, go.
Can I just say one? Can I just share one story from Edinburgh?
Yes.
Please.
It's got nothing to do with writing for the screen, but it's about someone walking out. I was in this play, I was watching it, and after about 10 minutes, this woman was like, I've had enough, and she walked out, and she went to go, but the door was locked. And so what she did was too scared to come back and sit down. So she kind of sidled behind the curtain, and then her two fancy shoes were just beneath the curtain for the rest of the play. No one was watching the play. They were going to start watching these shoes, and this woman was sitting there going, she had to wait for another 40 minutes.
That is pathetic, isn't it?
Well, she couldn't very well come and sit back down in the audience.
Maybe she took off her shoes and lay down and slept while everyone else was just watching. She was just like smoking. Or,
Yeah.
You are all kind of saying that you have to be a bit more safe with film. You're kind of implying that a bit, you guys.
I reckon.
Look, it's harder to get it's harder to get a film up than a show up. So there's always, it's more competitive, I guess. There's not very much, money, and you often need more money, of course. I don't know. That makes me feel uncomfortable. That statement.
You can break the mould.
Well, I mean, most of my short films I've self-funded. I've made most of my short films for between $3,000 and $5,000. The ones that I've had more money for have been less successful, which is, I don't know, there's something interesting in that.
Money.
I don't know. I would not like to be here endorsing safety.
No, I'm
as a
glad to hear
creative
that.
art. Thank
I'm
you.
very glad to hear that.
And I think
And Fantail wasn't safe.
thanks, mate.
It's a roller coaster ride.
But I think actors are also taught, we're taught to be take risks and be brave, and we're innovators, and yeah, I reckon.
You have to be more safe.
No, I think actors making film works, we're kind of ready to take risks,
Yeah,
and we're
that's
used to kind of criticism and rejection, and we'll just keep trying.
But any creative person,
Absolutely.
any creative person with a burning desire is, that is
Risky.
brave enough to take risks is hopefully going to make good work, unless they're completely without talent. I didn't think of the end of that sentence before I began it, but yeah, that's right. I think the thing is, people talk about theatre and film as being different beasts, and in some ways they are in terms of format and medium, but in their essence, they're the same.
Yeah, it's the same.
And people talk about, they're a screen actor or they're a stage actor. I go, bullshit, either they can act or they can't. And the director can bloody just direct them for the medium.
Yeah.
It's like, and there are technical things, of course, with writing, and in terms of that, you've got to relearn, but you've got all the building blocks there. You know how to create a story. You know how to write a character. You know how to, you know all of that stuff through theatre. So it's just telling stories through pictures that is the thing to learn, I think.
I'm going to ask a dumb question, but I sort of feel like I have to, because there might be some budding writers out there. I really hope so. Is there a magical formula for a good screenplay? You'll have to. It feels like it's a prerequisite question. Is there a magic formula? Do you think there is one?
I think that if you can, this is wanky, but I think if you
It's a
can,
wanky question.
I think if you can refine it down to one sentence and you can tell it to someone and they get excited about it, I think that's the good formula.
I reckon the formula for both theatre and film is why? Why are you telling this? Why this character? Why now? I think if you can answer that and you have something to say, even if it's a little something, then it's going to be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
For me, it's can I, whether it's theatre or film, can I create something that is engaging and compelling and stop people from walking out of the room?
Yeah.
That's always my aim. It's if someone's going to walk out of the room, I need to change that because it's bad writing.
Yeah. Would you guys like to talk anymore? Shall I ask these good people to ask you some questions?
Sure.
Go for it.
Anyone like to ask a question?
All us?
Sounds like a Tom question.
Yeah.
Tom brought it up, but
Yes.
the
Great.
difference between writing for hire
Yes.
and writing your own.
Yeah. I find it really hard to be a writer for hire if you don't have something in the story that you can be passionate about. And saying that, I have done jobs where you are a writer, where I haven't really been into it so much. What's the question? Like, what's the difference, or what?
Is it a different process or?
Well, the good thing about being a writer for hire is that you're coming at it with fresh eyes and you're going, okay, what's wrong with this? How can I fix it? And what I think also when you're writing a passion project from yourself, what's really good is to actually have a holiday from it, which can be like months or, a couple of weeks, and coming to it with fresh, critical eyes. So in a way, being a writer for hire can be better for the process because you're more critical.
Also, I imagine, well, that's where you can pay your mortgage or pay your
Yes,
rent,
sort
right?
of
Because all of the films that we're writing and the plays that we're writing, we pretty much do on spec, or we get a small amount of funding, which is basically just incentive and kind of encouragement, I think, which is so important.
Yeah.
But that money runs out pretty fast, and then you've got to go and
We get pointier and pools.
you've got to go and work at Pointier and Pools, yeah, or be a writer for hire, Tom.
Yeah, good. But it's also very good being a writer for hire, learning all these skills to actually apply what works and what doesn't for your own things. I had a really good quote. I don't know who. I'm probably half quoting this, but a writer is the only job where you're never not working, and it's so good because everything about life all feeds into it.
Yeah.
I don't know why I brought that up, but there you go. There's my
Pointier
pearl
and
of
Pools.
wisdom.
When I see, I go with my family to Pointier and Pools, and there's Tom,
Glumly
and I
sitting
can
behind
only
reception.
imagine. Pardon?
Glumly sitting behind reception.
Yeah, but you're lovely, and usually have country music playing and stuff, which is great.
Yeah.
But I always think, my gosh, you must be getting so much fantastic.
Oh, so much wonderful fodder.
Yeah.
Who are these people?
Great. Any more questions?
So you guys have written theatre and then you have transitioned to screen. So I'm interested, so you've written for screen, what have you learned from screen that you've then taken back into your theatre work, if anything?
I haven't gone back to theatre yet since writing for screen, but what I'm going to do is write more stage directions. Like when I was at drama school, some idiot was like, always cross out all the stage directions. I think it's because like the director wants to do their own thing and the actors want to make their own choices.
Yeah.
But I think there's something I learnt in screenwriting was around private moments with character and that action revealing who they are. And I'm definitely going to bring stage directions back.
Great, yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
I think just like, I haven't managed to work it in yet, but there's something about a film formula, like the traditional 3-act structure, that I'd really like to apply to a theatre and just make the best play ever. I feel like that would be a winning formula.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. That's what, which I haven't used yet, but yes. And anything else? Brevity.
Right.
Brevity is the soul of wit.
I'm just making my first theatre show now since, so I spent 7 years basically having kids and making films, and now I'm just in Australia.
You're amazing.
And now I'm just back, I'm devising my first show in 7 years, which is fantastic. And what I'm really enjoying about it is being able to just relish everything you can do in theatre that you can't do in film. Like theatre's so presentational and rather than observational, and so now I'm just making this really in-your-face kind of theatre show. I'm like talking really loudly to the audience. It's like really direct and could be awful, but 25th of April, don't know. But there's so much to enjoy in theatre. That's what so when you ask, what I'm bringing back, I'm really enjoying doing something, that is just kind of a bit more in your face, kind of,
Also, actually having a character, like actually feeling your character arc, I guess, in a story.
It's a sketch show. It's a sketch show.
Is it? Sorry.
This is off topic, but one thing I did think about in the car coming in was I'm just editing my first documentary together at the moment, and that is a nightmare compared to like drama, but it's super fun. But it really reminds me of devising theatre.
Right.
Incredibly, it's like, so if you've got a devising background, you'll be like all set to go into doco.
Awesome.
Can you talk a bit more about that for people who haven't
Yeah,
experienced
sure.
that process?
Well, because so I shot. I didn't have any money, so I shot for 3 days in Melbourne just pre-Christmas because I was overseeing my mum and dad anyway. Got the flights. So I shot, and it was a short project. So I shot for 3 days. I got 9 hours of footage, and it kind of felt like theatre. Like, I mean, I've been directing as well, but like I was just following whims, So if something came up in the interviews, or something came up, or it was raining that day, or suddenly we're going fishing, and I was just like following all these things, making heaps of stuff. And then now that I'm in the edit, it's like, oh my god, it's all just brilliant. Which you always think when you're devising. You think, oh my god, everything I've made is just brilliant. Everyone needs to see everything, which of course isn't true. But it's like that thing of like, now I've got to create a story. At least when you shoot, when you write drama, and then if you happen to be in the edit as a writer, or if you're the director and you're in the edit, even if you have been spontaneous and gone off on tangents and whims, which footage pertains to which scene and which order that goes in to build the story. With doco, it's like, it is like devising. It's like, oh my god, it's like
example.
a whole lot of crazy crap.
Yeah.
That's going to make an amazing story if I can get it in the right order.
Yeah.
Devising's like you do 1 day of devising and you get 1 minute of show. Is that right? Is that the ratio?
Something like that.
I don't know.
Not you. You're
I know. I do 20 minutes of devising, I've got a 2-hour show. That's what I've found. Not necessarily a good show.
I think a really good tip for everyone, if you get a chance to be in an edit suite, go do it.
Yeah.
You just learn so much from sitting there with them.
Totally. It was such a privilege to be welcomed back into the edit suite after I was banned during Fanta. And I learned so much about writing from an editor. He rewrote the whole script with me, basically.
Even if
it's
it's
a
not
whole new draft.
Even if it's not your, like, just if you know any editors, just ask politely if you can go and sit with them, because you learn a lot.
Someone real harsh. Great taste.
But especially if you've written it. I edited my first 2 short films because I had no money for an editor, and I thought, I'd just had a baby, I thought perfect time to learn to edit. Horrible. But anyway, it was so extremely stressful. And I got a really bad back because I was breastfeeding and reading the Final Cut Pro manual, 120 pages. Like, I was breastfeeding and reading it at night under the lamp, and I got a really bad back. But in hindsight, great, because that's where I learnt the most.
Yeah.
In the edit, because I was like, damn, I needed to shoot so much more coverage of that, or I missed out that whole story beat, or that's where you go, just by your own mistakes. Like, damn.
Yeah.
Also, non-dialogue beats that you needed to have included. Like you assume can be communicated, but the director and the actor haven't actually picked it up, and it's like a key look. And
pace was a big thing I learned. Like, we had quite a long scene, like towards the end of Act 2, I guess you'd call it, and it worked in the script, and then in the edit it was like, no, we've got to ramp up the film now, and then the scene is getting in the way and it's got to go. And that taught me a lot, going, okay, goodbye beautiful scene.
It's also good to learn not to be precious like that, eh?
Yeah.
Was that, just the scene can go, this character can go.
Yeah.
If you can learn that, it's a very wonderful thing to have.
It is.
I just have to go home tonight and delete my 2 favourite scenes from the doco, actually. I figured that out on the way driving here. I was like, they've got to go.
Yeah.
Damn.
Killing your babies.
Yeah.
Don't.
Any more? Yes.
Sorry. You were talking about exposition and telling the story through that, and also through dialogue. I'm just wondering, when you're writing, like, how much do you trust the audience to connect dots without telling the story, or without showing the story?
Yeah. That's a great question.
That is a very good question.
I found it really interesting moving from theatre to film. Something the film world really likes is for you to be really, really clear and obvious, I found. There wasn't a lot of...
and things around?
just anyone who read the
Yeah.
script. Like, a lot of people were like, sorry, that's way too subtle. And like, a lot of my subtext that the characters were saying, I'd have to write that in the big print so that people understood the subtext. And, you know, you don't give the actors enough credit there. Whereas in theatre, you just go, oh, I'll get that. It's sweet.
Or they'll discover it.
Or like ambiguity in my script was interesting. Like, I have to do a spoiler alert, so just block your ears if you haven't seen my film. Which is probably everybody. But
That's not true.
there's I wanted 20% of the audience to work out that the character of Rog is Tanya's real father in Fantail, and it's all kind of done through looks. The actor is absolutely playing it like he knows he's her father. There's like lines that hint at it, and the director always framed them in a two-shot, and it always looked very fatherly, daughterly. And in the test screening, and a lot of script consultants and people said, you know, you've got to tell us, you've got to make that obvious. And I fought really hard to not do that because the character wasn't finding out. And so I felt it was wrong for the audience to know if the character didn't. And so I got my way in the end. And so in theatre that would never happen. You just trust that your audience was smart enough to get it. And I love that some people do get it and then they discuss it after the film, and you know, that's part of it for me.
But it's also, this is what I've kind of struggled with and I'm kind of learning, is like if you're an actor, if you're a writer-actor or a writer-director, you know, you have a lot of stuff in your mind that you think when you write that line, or even if you're writing the big print, you think, I mean, that's totally obvious. But to a reader who's not in your mind, I mean, I've learned that I have to be more obvious in the script, and then, because I'm a director as well, then on the shoot, I can rely on performance to convey that. But yes, I've always erred on the side of not putting enough in the script, because a whole lot of people read the script that can't feel or see what I can see.
You have to think about like the reading experience as well as the watching of the film.
And I'm always too like, I just want to get on with the shoot, or I just want to get on with the performance. But that's the one kind of discipline kind of that I've had to, that I'm still trying to learn, is to try and lay it all out so it's clear in the script, which is obviously just the blueprint for the shoot.
Yeah, everybody hated in the script stage. A lot of people hated the character of Dean, who Jared Rawati plays, and that he was a goob, and why would she ever go for him? But like I knew that Jared would bring it, that underneath that he wasn't a goob, that was all on the surface. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. No. Working for televisions and comedy, sometimes I didn't have to say this is the joke, but I pretty much had to, like I was given advice, you have to label the joke so that they kind of get that it's funny. And I think, true story.
How do you label it?
You just kind of go italics / bold. But also I think that when you're rehearsing a play, you get to experience all the nuances and you get to experiment with it. But with screen, the actors have so little time with it that you just have to be really clear with it, don't you?
But isn't that the writer's job, to lay everything out really clearly, and then like the director, whether it's you or not, comes along and then decides, oh, we'll pull that back, we'll make that a bit more subtle. But it kind of is the writer's job to kind of go, this is the intention, this is what it is, now I'm going to hand it over and you just make it kind of play really well.
Yes, but it kind of takes the romanticism out of it, doesn't it?
It's not a nice process to kind of...
very clinical, very descriptive.
And it's not fun as an actor when everything's in, what is that called? Parenthetical.
Yeah.
But then, I don't know, like...
oh yeah, crying.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like when I went to an Arista workshop, this the UK company, years ago, and I remember them saying, don't fool yourself, for film, like the script is just a blueprint, it's just a map. It's not a piece of art, it's never going to be published. Don't get caught up in it. It's just like lay it out, make it clear, hand it over, or then direct it yourself or whatever you want to do. Like, it is kind of just like, it's an instruction manual
Absolutely.
with a whole lot of poetry and obviously all of that other stuff that needs to happen in there as well.
Which you can have in a play script. You can have a beautiful printed play script.
Pictures.
Yeah, you can.
Is there any more questions? Yes.
Just to bring it back to theatre for a little bit, I'm interested in, you talk so much about the editing process in film. What's the equivalent in theatre? When does it start?
Sitting in on the workshops and rehearsals, I guess, just seeing if the actors are struggling with things and the director, or if they can't make sense of it or something's not clear, that's the time to do it, which is great.
And some of the devised work I've done though is like you are cutting a character after the preview. Like it doesn't stop. If everyone has devised the work together, like that shit can change all the time. Like we did a show where Oliver Driver directed, and he came every single night and he changed the order of the scenes every night, and one character just stopped talking one night and it was crazy, but we were responding to what the audience was giving us, and yeah, it was cool.
That is, I do love that about theatre. You never have to lock it off.
Yeah.
Ever. I love that.
I also recommend every screenwriter write theatre as well. I'm just going to put it out
I
there.
love all your recommendations. That's great.
Yeah, if you're struggling with your screenplay getting funded, just make a play and then invite the right people to it, make it really successful, bam, then make a screenplay, make your film.
How common is that plays just evolve? I mean, I guess I mostly go and see plays once, and I assume that plays the play, but is it quite often that they just totally evolve as you perform them?
It depends which company you're kind of going to go and see. Like, if it's a devised work, I'd say it depends on the director as well about how much control they want, but certainly if it's a devised work, in my experience, plays can change hugely each night as long as the director is okay with that.
Or they're not there.
Or they're not there. Lights up, boom, let's party. It was really weird. I directed a play after a few years ago, actually, after I directed films for like 3 or 4 years, and I could not believe the lack of control I had as the director. It was a Young and Hungry, so I was directing quite young people, and I set it all up, I rehearsed them all, and opening night, great, and then I was over at the Melbourne Film Festival for the entire season and came back on the last night, as you can imagine. I was like sitting there going, fuck have they done with my play? I'd encourage them. I said, hey, you guys know the show now. I tried to give them that, you just be free and just go with it. Oh, look, they ruined it! And I was like, oh my god, I'm so used to having control now. It's a really different feeling. I like that.
Yes?
Sophie, as a writer actor taking a piece from theatre, where the idea is that you can't quite tell where you were in kind of suspended time, and you can't watch yourself. What do you reckon the relationship is taking that piece to screen, and you can you literally have playback?
I didn't really watch myself on purpose. I watched a few rushes, and then in the edit, when I first watched an assembly, I was like, oh, there's a giant pimple on my face, and that's all I saw. And then eventually I stopped seeing it as me. Yeah, and I started.
I really
hearing the
recommend for
story.
actors to start to get that recommendation. So many. I'm getting really good at it. Just watching the footage back and being really critical about it, because it's so good if you can do that.
But then there's the fear that you get if I watch rushes during a scene. If I go and to watch a playback, then I get too in my head, and it's about what I look, how I hold my chin or not. That is dangerous for me, but everyone's different.
Chins are always problematic.
Yeah, really difficult actually on screen, but in theatre, fine.
Apparently you're meant to hold your tongue to the roof of your mouth.
Oh.
Why?
Oh, really?
Yeah. Gets rid of the double chin.
Nice.
Another
I recommend it.
I've got one basic, this is I guess a summarising thing from me.
Do it.
Okay, because I just remembered the best piece of advice I was ever given, and it's the most basic thing that you probably all have heard, but just in case one person here hasn't heard it, it was when you're writing a screenplay and you've come from a theatre background, try and write the whole thing without dialogue. Only use dialogue if you absolutely cannot tell that part of the story with images. And even if you do think you're the next Woody Allen or whatever, I do enjoy quick repartee myself, but it's even quite good to start there and go, okay, can I write the whole story just in images and looks and changing environments and people getting out of trains and train stations and it's raining and or the handkerchief and all of that, before I need to utter a single word, and then kind of start adding the dialogue in where you kind of need it. That was the most useful piece of advice I ever got.
It's good.
Very short script.
What? Do it.
If it's all just like, oh, don't worry.
No, you can read the whole feature with no dialogue.
Tree of life, mate.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
Hated it.
He'd be the one in the high heels hiding behind the curtain trying to get out and go, God, when are they going to start talking?
On that note, do you have any departing fabulous tips you'd like to share?
Write for theatre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sit in the edit suite.
Nailing it.
Nailing it.
Said it.
Great shoes at Ruby. I don't know if you've seen them, but
When we were shortlisted, did I already say this? I don't know.
No, say it
I'll say
anyway.
it again, just to
Crickets.
really drum it in. When we were shortlisted for Escalator, the film commission said to us, did I say this? I don't know.
No,
They
carry on.
told
I'll tell you.
us that we were the wild card
Oh yes.
because
yeah.
we weren't experienced. And I'm really glad they did, because it made us work extra hard to prove people wrong that we could do it. And I guess like just working your hardest has always worked for me. Bam.
It's true. Get feedback. Try and curb your preciousness.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Any final questions, or should we?
We've got time for a couple more questions.
I had one curious one. You talked about, liking the rehearsals you have in theatre. And I've read quite a lot of directors like not to rehearse the actors too much because they like to capture like the in the moment stuff as they're discovering it, so they feel like that delivers a better performance. And I'm just curious about your take on that, considering you said the opposite almost.
I guess like with theatre, you're rehearsing for like 5 weeks before you get on stage, but then when you're on stage, you're absolutely discovering it in the moment, and you're with that person, and it's all happening right now. So it doesn't feel any different to rehearse for screen for me.
Nice.
But then there are some actors. I know poor Matt Whelan. When he did The Most Fun You Could Have Dying, this French actress, and he really loves rehearsing, and this French actress didn't rehearse, and they brought her over from France for a week, and they were supposed to rehearse, and they just hung out. He was gutted.
I think if I manage to make my feature and I get to rehearse, I think what I'll do is get the actors in the same room and get them to know each other and feel comfortable with them, but I don't think I'll rehearse any dialogue. I'll probably go through scenarios and would try a few improvisations and things like that, but I think, like if you start rehearsing dialogue, I mean, spontaneity is the great thing in those takes, isn't it? You always choose the most spontaneous take, so I think I'd just try and get the actors comfortable with each other and have chats and talk through scenarios and do some improvisation to try and get the emotional range happening and things.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't think we actually rehearsed any like emotional scenes for Fantail. I think we saved that up for on the day.
Mm.
Okay, that's clear. That makes it much clearer.
Anybody else? One last question.
I'm interested in your experiences of working with script consultants versus dramaturgs. And are there any sort of takeaways from the experience when it's worked best, when it hasn't worked?
What is the difference? They are a script consultant, but they just called it.
I guess a dramaturg, you mean dramaturg in terms of theatre and a script consultant in terms of film?
No, not the difference between, more just in terms of that experience of collaboration through the writing
Sure.
process, when that relationships work best, either in theatre or on film or television.
I love dramaturgs and script consultants. I have been asked to be them and I'm not very good at it.
I'm trying it out soon. Quite nervous.
They've got to be nurturing, don't they? They can't impose their own. I feel like I'm
Yeah, they
always
can't impose
imposing.
their own. Yeah, they
I'm like,
can't
oh my
impose
god,
their
just
own
go
thing.
on this
Try
line.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The scene would be much better if you just wrote it like
Yes.
this, and I've already written it out and I'll email you.
Yeah.
That's bad. I worked with a great, I'm working with a great writer-director who, as my script consultant, Dana Rotberg, who was the writer and director of White Lies. And she's brilliant, like she's a crazy Mexican, like very fiery woman, and the first time I met with her, she'd read my script like 5 times. I thought maybe she'd like read it once, but she'd read it 5 times in detail, written so many notes and things, and then in my first meeting she was like, you know, we're going through, we're on like page 4, and she was like, Jackie, you know, this bit here is just like, this is cinema. Like, this is writing. It is so beautiful.
Can you do a Mexican accent?
It is, I can't. It is so beautiful. It is so beautiful. Like, this is like perfection. Perfection. I was just like, wow, okay, I'm feeling quite emotional, quite like taking it. And then she was like, but this is shit. What the fuck are you doing? Like, she started, whoa. And she's been great because, I mean, I just love doing with her because, well, first of all, I had to throw my ego out the window like the first 5 seconds, and I was just like, okay, let's debate every single choice I'm making in this screenplay, which is great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a relationship between them, isn't it? Like you have to work well with that person.
You've got to trust
a
them.
match made.
You've got to trust
Yeah.
them.
I don't think I've had that much experience with a dramaturg in theatre. Like it doesn't feel as hands-on. Like they might be involved in a workshop, but then it's really you just go and do it, and you might be talking to the director about it. But yeah, but I'd like it to be more hands-on. Yeah.
And there are not really any rules or.
No.
Anyway, shall we leave it there?
Was that any good?
I think feedback is extremely important at every stage. That's what I believe more and more. Like when I first started making short films, I was so reticent once I'd kind of got my cut together and I thought it was perfect and my editor was happy. I'd just think, well, let's just go and do the grade, let's do the sound mix, and let's just enter festivals. But people would say, go and test it, and I never kind of wanted to because I thought people would want to change it.
Yeah.
And then of course they did, and the changes are always good, and you can take it or leave it. But now I try and do a lot of test screenings, send out Vimeo links to everybody, like badger them. Have you watched it? What's your feedback?
Yeah.
Annoying, but
No, that's good.
Can I make another recommendation? This is a really good one that I've learned as well. You have to kind of be passionate about what you're writing, but especially for screen, but you also have to be prepared just to throw everything out and start again. I think if you can manage to do that and just hold on dear to the characters or the central concept and be prepared to throw out the whole script, it is a wonderful thing to have. Do you have that? Okay.
Great. Well, that's great. Thank you guys for your generosity and thank you for your wonderful question. There is one more question.
Just on that last bit there, but is there a point where you draw the line? Where you just say, yeah, I appreciate the feedback, but I really believe that this is supposed to happen.
Well, that's when you know it's not a good match, right?
If you're getting the same feedback from a few different people, then
It's always
probably
gotta
true.
listen.
They're probably right.
you
It's one person you can go, whatever.
It's also like if you trust that person, it's a trust thing that you can kind of gauge, and if you're like, this person just does not get me, then you have to say no.
Mm.
I mean, I think, and if you're talking about like throwing it out to a whole bunch of people, whether it's just the script, which I think is really important to throw it out to a lot of people before you start spending money on filming it. Also, because that's, it's the cheap stage, it's free. And then also the edit. Yeah, I mean, of course there's going to be a line because you want to get it to an audience, so you can't, God, I went to a festival and some guy had been editing his film for 8 years. It's like, Jesus! I mean, it's never, he'll have outgrown his own film. Like I wouldn't make the same film now that I made 5 years ago or even a year ago. And so I think, there's definitely, the number one person who has to make that decision is obviously the author or the director, whoever is, ready to say this is it. It's never going to be perfect,
No,
I
everything's
reckon.
got flaws.
It's going to be, but this is like the best it's going to be for this project, and I'm going to get it out to an audience, and then I'm going to start working on my other projects tomorrow,
And with theatre, opening night is non-negotiable.
Yeah.
That is a deadline that is not moving.
Yeah, but it still changes throughout this. It can still change throughout the season.
but-
Yeah.
They cancelled the preview to
They
Angels
did.
in America.
Yeah.
Also,
But that wasn't writing.
What?
That wasn't the writing.
No, it wasn't writing. I just heard that. And it was just gossip. It's gossip. I don't know anything about it. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm going.
Is there one last question?
Can we go to the bar?
Okay, well, shall we go? Yeah. No, is there one burning question?
What's next for you guys?
Oh, go Soph. You've got a great one.
Go on, Sophie.
Go on, Tom.
Go on, Soph.
Guys.
Go on, Soph.
I am writing a script called Manhunt, which is about a lady who keeps choosing the wrong man, and so she decides to make her own boyfriends out of household objects. So she folds one, knits one, grows one, and sculpts one.
Erotica.
Maybe.
Why does she need 4?
Why indeed?
Why not?
Stay tuned.
Why not?
I'm working on a Vietnamese children's show called Alu, which is about...
Is this real?
This is real. They are currently filming it right now.
Really?
Serious. This is a writer for hire job. I have managed to insert my own character, who is a dragonfly, a wisecracking dragonfly, and I gave all these jokes to him, but of course none of them translate. Yeah.
Damn.
Is there a Super City 3 coming?
We were really hoping to get it in to have an election special with the character Offa, but that time I only worked when the election would hopefully have been in November or December, but now that it's in September we can no longer do it, so we're going to try and do a Super City 3 non-election special, but no, yeah.
I am trying to lock off my short doco tomorrow. I am working hard on developing my feature film and writing a wonderful and performing in a wonderful sketch show called Flash Dance down at the basement the New Zealand Comedy Festival.
What were those dates?
Yeah.
25th of April to the 3rd of May, 8:30.
Very
No
good.
Monday and Tuesdays.
Is it for real? Is it down?
It's at the basement downstairs
Down,
in the basement
okay, great.
with me and
Are
Johnny
you
Bruff.
wearing a unitard?
I reckon.
I'm wearing a bikini for most of it, and then I'm wearing a big Russian hat and kind of fur coat for quite a lot of it. So it's kind of all seasons.
Great. Thank you very much. You've been a lovely audience. Thank you for your great questions, and thank you guys for being who you
Thanks,
are.
Rachel.
Thanks,
Doing
Rachel.
what you do.